What if I told you the money in your wallet, the bills, the digits on your screen, isn't really money in the way you think? It's a promise, a debt. And it all traces back to one question that confuses almost everyone. If the Federal Reserve can print unlimited dollars, who exactly do they owe? The answer isn't simple. It's a story of power, trust, and illusion, born from gold mines, wars, and the ambitions of men who dared to control time itself, through money. Before the Federal Reserve, America's money was made of something real, gold and silver. Every dollar represented a physical piece of metal stored somewhere. But that system was slow, fragile, and couldn't keep up with a growing industrial nation. When the economy trembled, people rushed to exchange paper for gold, and banks collapsed. Out of this chaos, a new idea emerged. A central bank that could create stability by creating money itself. In 1910, 7 of America's wealthiest men boarded a private train under fake names. Their destination, Jekyll Island, Georgia. There, in secret, they designed the blueprint for the Federal Reserve, a system meant to end financial panics, but also to quietly give control of money creation to a few hands. When it became law in 1913, America's financial destiny was rewritten forever. The Federal Reserve now had a power kings once dreamed of, the ability to create money from nothing. But this nothing wasn't really nothing. Every dollar it created was issued as a loan, a debt, owed back with interest. In other words, money wasn't wealth. It was a promise to pay wealth later. The US government became both the borrower and the keeper of this endless promise. So if the Fed prints money, who do they owe it to? The answer lies in how money is born. The Treasury issues bonds, promises to pay. The Fed buys those bonds, creating new dollars in the process. The government now owes the Fed, and the Fed owes the bondholders, the banks, investors, and nations who trust in the US dollar. Every dollar is someone's IOU, stretching in a loop that never truly ends. For decades, America's promises were backed by gold. But as wars drained the Treasury and spending soared, the gold couldn't keep up. By 1971, President Nixon made a fateful decision. He closed the gold window. Overnight, the dollar was no longer tied to metal. It was tied only to trust. From that moment, America's money became pure faith, and the debt that supported it became infinite. Fiat, Latin for let it be done. The phrase perfectly describes modern money. It exists because the government says so. The Fed doesn't need gold or silver. It creates digital dollars with keystrokes. But that power comes at a price, because every new dollar reduces the value of the ones before it. Inflation isn't a crime or mistake. It's the natural heartbeat of a system built on debt. Inflation is called the invisible tax for a reason. When prices rise, your money buys less. Not because you failed, but because the system demands it. Debt fuels growth, and inflation pays for it quietly, by eroding value. Every paycheck, every savings account contributes to keeping the machine alive. It's the price we pay for stability that feels like freedom. The US dollar remains powerful not because it's printed by the Fed, but because the world believes in it. Every bond, every trade deal, every barrel of oil priced in dollars reinforces that trust. The debt is immense, over $30 trillion, yet investors still line up to lend more. They're not buying money, they're buying safety, reputation, and the idea that America always pays its debts, eventually. When the world holds US dollars, it's holding US debt. That's the secret of the reserve currency nations like China, Japan, and Germany, buy treasury bonds not out of charity, but to keep trade flowing and their own currencies stable. The Fed owes them paper promises, and in return, America owes the world its economic heartbeat. Every crisis, the Great Depression, 2008, the pandemic, pushes the Fed to print more. Each time, trillions appear from thin air to rescue markets. But this isn't generosity, it's survival. The system can't afford stillness. It depends on expansion, on debt, on the illusion that tomorrow's growth will pay today's bills. The Fed doesn't own the government, nor does it answer directly to voters. It's a hybrid, public in mission, private in structure. Its balance sheet tells a quiet story. Trillions in assets, trillions in liabilities, and the invisible web connecting every bank, corporation, and citizen. The Fed owes the world faith, not cash. Debt isn't a flaw, it's the design. When banks lend, they create new money. When you repay, the money disappears. The system is like a heartbeat, expansion and contraction. Remove debt, and the pulse stops. The question, who do they owe, becomes who keeps believing, because money in the end is just belief written in numbers. The government owes the FED. The Fed owes the banks owe depositors, and depositors owe the system their trust. It's a circle with no end, sustained not by gold, but by confidence. Break that confidence, and the whole illusion cracks. History shows this cycle always bends, never breaks, until it does. Rome once debased its silver coins. France printed assignats. Every empire believed it could outsmart scarcity, until confidence vanished. The United States learned from them, turning debt into a weapon of strength. As long as people want dollars, the system holds. But history whispers, nothing stays trusted forever. Today, most dollars don't exist as paper. They live in code, in databases, not vaults. With each click, new credit is born. Money printing no longer needs ink. It needs belief in data, in the invisible network of trust between banks and citizens. The illusion grows stronger, but also more fragile. When the government borrows, it borrows on behalf of its citizens. The national debt is our collective promise, a reflection of roads built, wars fought, dreams funded. We owe it to ourselves, to our future selves, and to the invisible thread that ties every paycheck to every treasury bond. Confidence is the world's most valuable currency. Every crisis tests it. When fear rises, people don't ask, what's a dollar worth? They ask, will the system survive? The Fed's true debt isn't financial, it's moral, the responsibility to preserve belief in a promise made over a century ago. Today, trillion-dollar markets rise on whispers from the Fed. Investors watch every word like oracles reading prophecy. But behind the numbers are people, parents, workers, dreamers, living in a world built on credit. Our prosperity is paper-thin yet beautifully complex, a mirror reflecting both genius and fragility. Could the system ever collapse? Perhaps. But for now, the dollar remains the world's anchor, not because of its perfection, but because no better alternative exists. As long as America's promise endures, its paper, pixels, and debt will remain the language of global trust. So who does the Fed owe? Technically everyone, and no one. The money it prints is debt, but also the lifeblood of the system. It owes the world confidence. It owes citizens stability. It owes history a reminder that power over money is power over imagination, and imagination, once broken, can't be rebuilt easily. Money is a story we all agree to believe. The Fed writes new chapters every day, some of faith, some of fear. But behind every printed bill lies a deeper truth. The debt isn't owed to kings or banks, it's owed to trust itself. Because the moment we stop believing, the moment the promise fades, the empire of paper turns to dust.